Okay, today we are going to be talking about percents. This is something we've seen quite a bit in our bell work and we've started talking about a little bit, and today we're going to see how we can convert percents to fractions and fractions to percents. So percents go right along with ratios, and we're going to see more of that here in a minute. So first, let's start with some vocabulary. Please write these down. You're going to need to know these terms. The first one is percent. Mine's kind of cut off by the hole punch there. So we know that percent is represented by this little symbol right here. And percent means per 100. That's what cent means, is 100. So per 100, and so it's a part to whole ratio. So it's like a fraction, okay, where the whole is 100. So a percent is some number over 100. Our next word is per, which means to divide. We've heard that one before. When we did our unit rates, we had miles per hour. Per means to divide. Okay, so let's start looking at these. So to change a percent to a fraction, we first want to change the percent to a fraction out of 100 and then simplify. So to do that, if we looked over here, this is a 100 grid, so it's 10 by 10, and there's 100 little squares in here. If I colored 3 of these columns in, okay, if I get these 3, if I counted it up, there would be 30 squares that I just colored in pink, right? So if I asked what percent of the squares are colored in, you would say, well, there's 30. There's 30 out of 100, okay, but that's not a percent yet. We can write that over here like this. Sorry, this isn't simplified yet, is what I meant to say. So we have 30%, which is the 30 out of 100, and we can simplify that to a smaller fraction. So if I have 30 over 100, I can divide top and bottom by 10, which means I can just cross off that last 0. And I'm left with 3 out of 10 as my ratio. So to convert from percent to a fraction, all I do is simplify that. And so 30% is 3 to 10, okay, or 3/10. Let's look at a couple more examples of that, since I kind of explained that out of order. So percent, all we're doing is we're writing this same number over 100. 40 over 100, because I had 40 per cent, okay? 40 per 100. Now I want to simplify that fraction. I can see that both of these divide by 10 to give me 4 over 10. That's still an equivalent fraction, but I can see that these also simplify further. I know that 4 and 10 are both even, so they can both divide by 2. When I divide by 2, 4 divided by 2 is 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5, and I simplified my fraction all the way. That's all we're doing. Write this number over 100 and simplify. So 65 over 100. Okay, you're probably looking at this and saying, what can go into both of those? The first one I think of is 5. Let's start there. Okay, 65 divided by 5 gives me 13, and 100 divided by 5 is 20. Okay, you could use your multiplication table if you need to for that. Then I'm going to look at this and see if this can simplify further. 20's got some factors, it maybe could, but 13's prime, so I know that's as simplified as it can go. So for this first one, percent to fraction, that's all you're doing is taking this number, writing it over 100 and simplifying. Let's see how we go the other way, how we take a fraction and go to a percent. This one has just a little bit more work, but it's still not that hard. Okay, the first one, we want to make an equivalent fraction. Okay, using part to whole comparison with 100 as the whole. That's a whole bunch of words. What we want to do is whatever fraction we start with, we want to make an equivalent fraction that has 100 in the denominator. So we'll see an example of that right over here. let's start with that. So we have 3 over 4, and I want to make an equivalent fraction with 100 in the denominator. So I see that 4 multiplied by 25 to get 100. Okay, the second step is any numerator over 100 is equal to the percent. Okay, so we're going to talk about that in a second. First, let's finish this one. So since I made the bottom equivalent, I need to make the numerator equivalent. So I'm also going to multiply the top by 25. 3 times 25 is 75. And then step 2 just said that any number, any numerator over 100 is equal to the percent. So that means our 75 right here is our percent. So I'm going to write over here 75%. Okay, so again, just our steps. We have a fraction. I need to make an equivalent fraction that's over 100, and I saw that multiplying by 25 made that happen. So when I multiply the top by 25, I get 75. I'm making an announcement about lunch money. Okay, so I multiply this one by 25, and I get 75 over 100, and the number on top is my percent. Okay, now you're probably looking at 7/8 and saying, but 8 doesn't go into 100 evenly, and that's right. What you can also do is you can always divide. Okay, the numerator by the denominator. This is the way I've shown you during the bell work. So if I look at this, 7 over 8 is 7 divided by 8. So that means 8's going to go out in front, and I'm going to have 7 underneath. And you're looking at that and saying, but 8 can't go into 7, it's bigger. So to fix that, what I do is I add a decimal and a 0. So now it's like 8 is going into 70. Okay, so I want to look at this and think, I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see this a little better. Okay, I want to see how many times does 8 go into 70 or something close to it. So I know that 8 goes into 64 8 times, and since I couldn't go into 7, I put my 0 here, and then I have 0.8. 8 times 8 is 64. I subtract and I get 6. Okay, I had a remainder, so I've got to add a 0 and keep going. 8 goes into 56, which is close to 60, and it goes into 56 7 times. Again, I'm going to subtract, oh, I don't get 0, sorry. I get 4. Again, I had a remainder, so I'm going to add another 0. 8 goes into 40, sorry, you can't really see that. Goes into 45 times. Now I have no remainder, so I'm finished. So I have 0.875. This also tells me my percent. Okay, and remember we have to finish by multiplying by 100. We have to move the decimal 2 places to get 87.5%. This way is probably going to take you a little bit more time to practice. All you do for that, so your steps for dividing is 1, I'm going to write these over here. Divide your numerator by your denominator, so I'm just going to say n by d. And then second, after you divide, you want to move your decimal 2 places, okay? So you're going to make this number bigger, and you'll have 87.5%. Oh, sorry, you couldn't see those steps. Those are right there. Divide n by d, and then move your decimal 2 places, okay? So let's try a couple of these quick. So these say together and pause and try. I'm going to do a few of these, and then I'm going to let you try the rest of them, okay? So this first one, 1/10, we want to write that as a percent. So we're going from a fraction to a percent. So I need to figure out what I can multiply by to make an equivalent fraction. I know that 10 times 10 equals 100. So I'm going to multiply top and bottom by 10, and that gives me 10 over 100. So my top number is my percent, and I have 10%. Okay, let's go from the percent to a fraction this time. 20% is going to be the same as 20 over 100. I can see that these both divide by 10 to give me 2 over 10. And I can see those are both even. When I divide by 2, I'm going to get 1 over 5. And let's try one where we have to maybe, actually, you know what? These are all nice numbers. They will all multiply to 100. So on this part, you're not going to have to do the dividing thing. You're just going to have to do then make an equivalent fraction with 100, or make your fraction and simplify. Okay, if you want to see more examples of how to do this, come and talk to me. Have a good day.